This is the first time that the President is attending an Asia-Europe meeting since he assumed office. And it's very important that he attended this meeting here now in Vientiane, because all these leaders from Europe are flying over to our region in order to attend this meeting. So right now, there are so many a confirmed participation from the leaders of both regions. And as of this moment, as we speak, I understand that there are at least 32 confirmed participation from the heads of states and governments of both Asia and Europe. So of the 48 members of ASEM, we have 32 heads of states and government, which is actually 67% participation at the highest levels for ASEM. But on top of this 32, we have 3 more heads of states and governments who will also be here. These are the 3 new member countries who will be officially welcomed to ASEM during this meeting. So these are the leaders of Switzerland, Norway, and Bangladesh. So therefore, it's really a great opportunity for the President to be able to meet with them. And I believe his presence here reaffirms the importance that we place on Europe as a political and economic partner, both for the Philippines and also in ASEAN and for Asia as a whole. Well, ASEM is an informal process, really. The ASEM dialogue is an informal process, and it's also a multidimensional forum. So therefore, informal ensures that there is easier discussions, more comfortable discussions among the leaders. And the multidimensional aspect to it is that ensures that we get all aspects and all perspectives in to the discussions. So therefore, while we are getting ready for the preparation, while we are preparing for the participation of the President at the ASEM Summit. Prior to this ASEM Summit, there have already been several meetings among parliamentarians in the Asia-Europe Parliamentarians Partnership meeting. There have been meetings with the Business Forum immediately before the summit. There has been a meeting among civil society organizations, and right now there is an ongoing meeting of senior officials. So therefore, you don't only get inputs from policymakers, from government, but also from the private sector and also from CSOs. There's quite a lot of items on the agenda for the ASEM, and of course, there's discussions on climate change, sustainable development, and of course, the Eurozone crisis, economic and financial crisis. But I think for the Philippines, of course, the President will want to push priority issues for the Philippines with Europe, and this includes issues pertaining to migration and also energy security. Well, I think it's very important to continue a dialogue between regions, and ASEM is the only a forum where we have leaders from both regions, Asia and Europe, to converge every 2 years to discuss current issues of common concern. And also, it's also the forum where they're able to sort of draw up and come up with some kind of arrangements on a region-to-region basis. So for the Philippines, we have been very active participants in the ASEM process. So just last year, we had helped organize and we hosted several conferences of ASEM, and one was on interfaith dialogue and another one on biofuel standards. So I think we as a founding member, in fact, of ASEM when this was established in 1996, and it has grown since, because initially there were only 26 members, and now we've grown to 48, moving to 51 with the entry of the new member countries. So I think it has proven itself to be a very useful forum for dialogue among between the two regions. We had an official visit by the Prime Minister of Laos to the Philippines last May. His Excellency Tongsin Tamavong visited the Philippines then, and after that visit, I can report to you and to your viewers that this has spurred a lot of activities bilaterally between the Philippines and Laos. During that visit, there were several agreements that were signed, and among them was the cooperation agreement that was signed between our Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and their counterpart, Lao National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And this established the Business Council in both the Philippines and Laos. And as a result of that cooperation agreement, we are already preparing for the inaugural meeting of that Business Council meeting here in Vientiane. In fact, the week after the summit. And so the Lao chairman of the Lao Philippine Business Council, which is based here, has so graciously offered to host a delegation from the Philippines and have the meeting, and also to arrange for meetings with key government officials and also private sector groups. So apart from that, actually, even as early as June, we already had another Philippine outbound business mission that already came over here to Vientiane to explore the possibilities for greater business tie-ups. So there has been a reinvigoration of our ties with Laos, and of course we look forward also to the holding of the Joint Commission on Bilateral Cooperation next year, the first half of next year. And during these Joint Commission meetings, we normally go through the whole expanse of cooperation between our countries, and we're looking at possible concrete projects in the areas of education, agriculture, and even in terms of women issues, gender issues. Well, right now, the confirmed meetings of our president is with the presidents of the European Commission and the European Council. So that will be actually a trilateral meeting because he's meeting two heads of the EU. And then I believe there are about 4 bilateral meetings on the sides also of the ASEM. And so this includes meetings with the leaders of Italy, of Switzerland, of Norway, and also of Japan. I understand that there might be other bilateral meetings, but these are still being coordinated in terms of scheduling. Well, of course, I mentioned earlier that in the talks of our president with Europe as a whole, migration will figure quite prominently in the topics that he will raise. And so therefore, I think with these specific countries, migration and the conditions of our overseas workers in these respective countries will also be an issue that he may raise. Like, for example, I understand that in Norway, majority of the merchant marine of Norway is actually manned by Filipino seafarers. So I believe this is an issue also that the president can take up with his counterparts from these countries with whom he's having bilateral meetings. Well, you know, they're very, very excited when they learn that the president is coming and that we are arranging actually for a meeting of the community with him. So we have about, I mentioned, I think earlier, a profile of the Filipinos here. We have about 550 Filipinos living and working in Laos, and about half of that is based in Vientiane. So practically all of them actually will be at the Filipino community meeting, with some of them actually traveling quite a distance just to be with the president. Because as you know, Faith, the majority or a huge chunk of the Filipino community here are workers in the mining industry. So these workers in the mining industry are not actually based in Vientiane capital itself, but in the provinces of Laos. So we have quite a big contingent coming from the mining industry attending the community meeting. And of course, the Filipinos were also very excited to put together a program to present to the president, And I think the President, I hope, will be, will be happy to view and listen and see these performances by our Filipinos here in Laos. Well, we have quite a number of teachers as well. And apart from them, we also have quite a number of consultants connected either to the UN, to the ADB, the World Bank, and assigned to the different sectors, primarily in the agriculture and education sectors. Then we also have quite a number of accountants, office workers, we have nurses as well, and engineers. We also have a few in the garment industry, and I mentioned nurses, no? So this is the profile of our workers here in Laos. Very significant, I should think, Faith, and when I arrived here in the first few months, I thought that it was not very well projected actually, because there was no write-ups about it, or there was no features in the newspapers about it. But then when you talk to their employers, to their co-workers, then you see the value that they place on the Filipino workers who are with them. And I think a common sentiment among these employers of our Filipino workers is that they're very hardworking, they're very honest, and they're very friendly and easy to work with. Kami dito sa embassy, syempre ang aming trabaho dito is not only to further the friendly relations between our two countries, Laos and the Philippines, but also to help our Filipino nationals. So in terms of the community, we try as much as possible to keep them updated on the developments back home, as well as dito ho sa embassy, what's happening at the embassy. So therefore, since I arrived here in Laos, I've instituted monthly Filipino community meetings na pinapaalam po natin sa kanila ano ho mga latest. And of course, very active din po ang embassy in trying to get all our Filipinos here registered as overseas absentee voters. And I'm happy to report that we have practically everyone listed as an OAV voter. So sa aking palagay po, masaya naman po ang ating community rito, at kami rin po ay masaya dahil wala rin naman po kami masyadong problema sa kanila. Maraming salamat po sa Pulsong Pinoy, and mabuhay po ang Pilipinas. Salamat po.